Before MS was a disease, it was a stress pattern. And most of us never see it coming. Because honestly, it doesn't feel like stress.
Before symptoms, before MRIs, before fear, there is the undertone, the quiet stress that shapes a nervous system long before anything is diagnosable. And if you've lived with multiple sclerosis for a long time, you may feel pieces of yourself in this.
Today, I'm going to take you back. Way back. Because my MS story didn't start at 23. It didn't start with stumbling or any other symptom. It started years earlier in ways I never had the language to understand.
Stress doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers.
I've always known I was different. But as a kid, that difference didn't matter. Kids are kids. Simple, honest, accepting in ways adults sometimes forget how to be. My right hand is funky, sure. My gait was a little off, sure. But nobody pointed at me. Nobody whispered about it. Nobody made me feel like it was a problem. I didn't even feel it was anything to think about. I walked freely. I played sports. I ran around. I lived like every other kid. Sure, I walked with a limp. It wasn't a limp, my limp. It was just how I walked.
And this matters. Because in childhood, the brain hasn't yet connected difference with danger. The nervous system adapts without fear.
But that changed when I hit junior high. Around 12 years old, the world suddenly got sharper. Judgment got louder. The culture shifted overnight. Kids who never knew me, kids who I hadn't grown up with, saw my walk, saw my hand, saw my differences, and treated them differently. And for the first time in my life, I felt judged. Really judged.
This is the moment the undertone is born. Not in childhood innocence, but in the shock of early adolescence, the first time the world reflects you back in a way that feels unsafe.
It scared me. It really did. I didn't crumble. I didn't cry. I didn't show anything. But inside, something tightened. Something quiet. Something that didn't have a name yet. By 15, everything had changed. Junior high school wasn't just a new school. It was a new world. The innocence of childhood was gone. And suddenly, everything just felt like an evaluation. My walk, my hand, the way I held a baseball, everything had a spotlight on it. Kids don't have to say anything. You can feel judgment before anyone opens their mouth. And at that age, every sideways glance feels like a sentence. But I still tried. I still pushed myself into the world the only way I knew how. I joined the town's parks baseball team. Not because I thought I would be great, but because I loved sports. I loved the idea of being part of a team, being a part of something. And even though my right hand didn't work, I didn't want that to stop me.
What you were really doing was fighting for identity. At that age, inclusion becomes survival. Belonging becomes safety.
But it didn't go the way I'd hoped. The first practice was okay. I tried hard. Oh, I remember. I could run, I could hit sometimes, but throwing, that's where everything fell apart. And let me explain this clearly for you, because this is where the undertone really started to carve itself into me. I threw it with my hand, my left hand. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't a strategy. It was a necessity. My right hand? Well, it couldn't throw a baseball 10 feet. It didn't have mechanics, didn't have the rotation. It couldn't pronate or supplement the way a throwing motion needs. So, the only option was the left hand throws, right hand catches. And that's where my big struggle began. My right hand had to wear the mitt. My right hand had to catch. And catching isn't just sticking a glove in front of a ball. You've got to move, rotate, flip, adjust. Countless little things most people don't think about. You've got to go palms down to palms up in a split second. Anytime the play involved palms up, palms towards the sky, everything fell apart. My arm was so tight that I had to bend my entire body sideways just to coax my right arm into that position. I would twist my torso, lean left, contort myself just to give my right hand the angle it needed.
This is the kind of compensation the nervous system learns silently, without language, years before diagnosis.
And in baseball, I didn't have the time to do that. The ball doesn't wait for you to twist your whole body just to open a glove. So the catches I should have made, I dropped. The throws I wanted to make, I didn't even have the chance to attempt. Plays that were simple for other kids were impossible for me. And even today, decades later, I still can't fully turn my right palm to the sky. That limitation has never fully left. It's part of me. And at 15, kids notice that. They don't always say anything, but they notice. They didn't tease me. Well, sometimes they tease me, but most times they didn't. They didn't mock me. they did something worse. They looked away. That look of, oh, he can't. That hits harder than any word could. After a few practices, the coach pulled me aside. He wasn't unkind. He wasn't cruel. He was doing what he thought was best. He said, "Hey, Steve, I could use some help managing the team, keeping the lineup, helping with the gear, making sure we're organized. Manager, not a player."
For a teenager, this is identity dissonance, being close enough to belong but not truly included.
So I said yes, because what else was I supposed to say? No, I want to keep falling in front of everyone. I wore the team jersey. I stood there with the team. But I wasn't part of it. Not really. I became the kid holding the clipboard while everyone else played. And the strange thing is, nobody treated me badly. They weren't mean. They weren't cruel. They were kind. But sometimes kindness hurts more than cruelty, because it confirms what you already suspect about yourself.
This is identity level stress. When you internalize the idea that your body limits you and the world quietly reinforces it.
Standing in the dugouts during games, watching everyone else play, pretending I didn't care. That was the undertone forming inside of me. The message wasn't loud. It wasn't yelled at me. It was quiet, subtle, whispered underneath everyone. You're close, but not close enough. You're here, but you're not really here. You can watch, but you can't join. It didn't devastate me. It didn't crush me. But it stuck out to me. It followed me. It shaped me. And by the time I turned 15, that feeling, that subtle, quiet separation between me and everyone else. Because part of how I saw myself was that.
This is the undertone at full volume, even though it makes no sound.
By the time I reached my early 20s, I had no idea stress had been shaping me for a decade. I thought I was fine, strong, independent, and then the stumbling began.
And this is where the undertone finally rises to the surface.
I had just moved into my new condo. Ellie came over that morning. We decided to paint the dining room. We went to Home Depot, got everything, bought all brought it all home, and we started painting. I kept stepping in the paint can. I'll never forget.
The first symptom rarely feels like a symptom.
It was funny at the time. We laughed so hard. Ellie made so much fun of me. I thought, well, that was a clumsy day. I never imagined it meant anything. But the days passed. And it didn't go away. I kept stumbling. Not constantly, but enough to feel wrong. Enough to feel like something was off inside of me.
This is the moment almost every person with MS remembers, when something small refuses to disappear.
So I went to my GP. He said it might be an inner ear infection. Gave me medicine. Nothing changed. I went back. He looked confused. And then he said the sentence that shifted everything. Steve, I think I'm going to send you to a neurologist. Ellie and I drove up to the appointment. Still hopeful. Still thinking this was simple. In New Jersey, everyone talks about Lyme disease. That was my hope. But when we got to the neurologist's office, it wasn't a hospital. It was a converted house out in the woods. Walk in, it was converted into an office, but still, you could see it was a house.
Some moments in life feel wrong before they reveal why.
The waiting room used to be a living room. Pamphlets everywhere. Diseases I had never heard about. An entire world of conditions I didn't even know existed. And for the first time, I got scared. When I got called back, it was another old bedroom turned office. Dr. Hussar didn't say much. He just watched me, studied me. Years later, he told me he knew something was off the second I walked in.
A trained neurologist can see what a patient cannot feel.
He listened. Then he started the blood work game with me, sending me over and over 5 or 6 rounds of blood work, each time ruling out something else. And while he was ruling out things, I was ruling out things inside of my own head. My symptoms started outrunning the tests. The numbness spread. My whole right side began to feel muted, delayed, just wrong. Heat sensitivity, it hit me hard. The fatigue became crushing.
This is where stress and MS intertwine. Stress amplifies symptoms. Symptoms amplify stress.
I went home after every appointment and researched everything, just hopped online. At the time, 2004, I think the only place I was really dedicated to was going to WebMD and reading about every condition. I knew myself better than any chart could describe, and slowly I started recognizing the pattern. I had a very strong suspicion it was MS. And the strange thing is, once that suspicion formed itself, I wasn't afraid of the disease anymore. Not in the way most people imagine. I was sitting there thinking, oh no, MS is devastating, MS is lifelong, MS is terrifying. I wasn't even focused on the idea of MS as the big, life-altering diagnosis. I was focused on stopping my symptoms. My body felt wrong. My right side didn't respond the way it should. The numbness felt foreign. The fatigue, unnatural for a 23-year-old. It was June and it started heating up. The heat sensitivity made me feel like I was melting from the inside. My balance felt unreliable. Every day was a surrender to something inside me was slipping. And when you feel that physically terrible, day after day, you stop caring about labels.
When symptoms become overwhelming, the brain prioritizes immediate relief over long-term fear. It's survival logic. Fix what's happening right now.
Exactly. I wasn't scared of the diagnosis. I was frustrated. I wanted answers. I wanted a name for what was happening so I could finally do something about it. People imagine the suspense before diagnosis as this traumatic fear of the unknown. But for me, it wasn't. It wasn't like that at all. I was too busy living the symptoms to be afraid of the diagnosis. Every day I thought, let's just get this blood work done. Let's get some results. Let's diagnose this thing. I just wanted relief. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you feel the same way sometimes? I just wanted a direction. I wanted something actionable.
This is common among people whose symptoms escalate quickly. The fear of the disease is overshadowed by the urgency of the body's distress.
All I cared about was stopping what I was feeling. Stopping the numbness, stopping the fatigue, stopping the instability, stopping the strange, creeping sense that my body wasn't mine anymore. Diagnosis wasn't frightening. When Hussar finally ordered the MRI, everything changed. Not because the machine was scary, but because of what it might show. I had read enough to know that MS had no cure, but even then, I wasn't panicking. I believed medicine would handle it. I believed I'd get back to some form of normalcy. The day the results came in, I sat in that old bedroom/office, and Hussar was calm. Almost too calm. And he said,
"Sorry, Steve. You have multiple sclerosis."
I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I wasn't surprised. I simply said, "Okay, what medication do I need to go on?" I felt numb. Not calm. Numb. My brain froze the feelings to protect me from something I wasn't ready to process. But underneath that numbness, I was afraid.
Numbness isn't the absence of fear. It's what fear looks like when the mind is overwhelmed.
I didn't show fear to anyone. Not Ellie, not to my friends, not to my family. I acted fine. But inside, Stress started twisting inward. I became suspicious, paranoid. I thought Ellie was cheating on me. I projected every fear outward. And the thing is, I've never been a paranoid person, ever. That just wasn't me. I wasn't the jealous type, the anxious type, or the clingy type, none of it. I was calm, fun-loving, easygoing. I was the guy who didn't worry about anything. But MS changes your foundation before you even realize it. The symptoms, the loss of control with your body and your life, the fear of what's coming, it all tightens around you. And suddenly, the confident person you used to be feels gone. I couldn't control what was happening inside of my body. I couldn't trust my balance, my strength, my energy. I couldn't trust my future. So instead of facing that fear directly, I started seeing danger everywhere else. I thought Ellie would see that. I thought she would understand the fear I couldn't say out loud. I thought she'd notice how off I felt and come closer. But instead, every tiny thing she did became proof I was losing her. Looking back, I think Ellie might have been hoping I'd be the one to end it. Maybe she didn't want to hurt me. Maybe she didn't know how to say it. And maybe she felt trapped between love and responsibility. When I broke up with her, she didn't fight. She cried. Of course she cried. But she never said, let's not break up. She never said, I want to stay. She never said, we can get through this. And within a week, I remember telling her, Ellie, I miss you. And the way she responded crushed me. She didn't lean in. She didn't soften. She didn't say she missed me back. It was over.
Sometimes the moment you reach out for someone is the moment you realize they've already let go.
It was like me breaking up with her gave her permission to move on. Like she had been waiting for that door to open so she could walk through it. And when she moved on faster than anyone I've ever known, it felt like everything I feared was suddenly real. I wasn't just losing her. I was losing the version of myself I had always been when she was in my life.
When someone loses trust in their body, they often lose trust everywhere else.
I broke up with her. Yeah, on paper, I broke up with her. Not because I wanted out, but because I wanted her to fight for me. I thought it would wake her up. Looking back now, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. She didn't fight. She ran away quicker than the wind. I pulled away from all my friends. Garrett and Sean, they were in New York City living big lives. And you can relate. I just didn't have the energy to go into the city. I didn't have the bandwidth to let them in. It's not like they reached out to me. Not because they were bad people. They were just living. And I had just become sick Steve. That's when I sold my condo and rented a small apartment in a luxury building across town. Not for the luxury, for the safety. There was a 24-hour front desk attendant. If I needed help, someone was always there. It had elevators, and the elevators meant no stairs. Parking garage meant in New Jersey winter, no snow, no ice, no shoveling. But really, my world shrank without me even noticing.
This is when stress becomes environmental, when your home becomes a symptom.
One morning, after doing my every other day injection, I looked around my apartment and realized right in front of me was a bookshelf. And my mind, it just stared at it. I remember the day Ellie and I bought it at IKEA, laughing in the aisles, arguing over whether the black-brown finish looked too dramatic, stuffing the flat pack box into my car like it was some kind of accomplishment. Most of the things in that apartment came from moments like that. Little pieces of a life that felt so full. There were things from Garrett and Sean, housewarming gifts, small things from times when they were still part of my everyday world. But then, at that moment, all of that felt empty. I realized none of these people were in my life anymore. I was alone. Truly alone. No close friends, no relationship, no life outside of work. I started calling my parents more. Not because they could fix anything, but because I needed to hear someone who cared. I loved hearing about my sister building her life, her family, her happiness. I started to ask myself a question that cut deeper than any of the symptoms. Why am I still out here? What am I doing across the country from everyone who still cared about me? Because no one there did.
This is the breaking point, not a fall, not a catastrophe, but a realization.
And that's where this first chapter ends. Not with the dramatic collapse, but with the truth finally breaking through. I wasn't just living with MS. I was living inside a lifetime of stress patterns I never knew existed. Thank you for making it to the end. Really. Thank you. This was the hardest chapter of my life to look back on. But if you're still here, it tells me something important. You're fighting for your story too. And that gives me hope. Not just for me, but for all of us. Because yes, this chapter was really heavy. It was lonely. It was complicated, but it also planted the seed for everything that came after. Every moment of growth, every step forward, every part of my recovery that I never thought was possible. You didn't just watch a video. You walked with me through the years where the world felt small and the future felt uncertain. But here's the truth. It changes everything. The story didn't end there. It started there. And in the next video, we go deeper. I finally open up the door to the biology behind all of this. Why stress chooses your brain and how you can unchoose it. How the nervous system can soften and open and remember how it used to heal. There is so much help out there. And I'm grateful to share it with you. Until the next video, thank you for being here with me. That's where my recovery story truly begins. So, until the next one,